Hey guys, and welcome back to Battlefront Updates and some more Star Wars gaming talk. Today I want to talk about heroes versus villains and how it would work perfectly as a game. Obviously not just taking it from Battlefront 2, but there's a lot more to it than that. But with everyone wondering what the future of Star Wars games has in store for us, I think this sort of game has the potential to compete with other similar games and obviously have a huge popularity just within the Star Wars community. So let's get straight into it. Before I start talking about the game, I just wanted to give a shout out to my sponsor Elgato Gaming. If you are interested in checking out any other new microphones, audio mixer software, or any other products such as capture cards or green screens, make sure to check out that link in the description below. But now let's talk about Heroes vs Villains, the game as I'd like to call it. What exactly would it mean? Well, as you know, there are a lot of arena shooters out there. Some examples of this is Overwatch and Valorant. Heroes vs Villains in Battlefront 2, it's not really the same, but also it is similar to some degree. Obviously, one big thing is that you have two sides, and whatever hero you have on the dark side is not available on the light side and so on, making balancing a lot harder. And its focus has always been more on the casual kind of gameplay with friends enjoying the Star Wars universe than something competitive. There's not really anything competitive about Heroes vs Villains right now, simply because there's no matchmaking, there's no ranking, and there's just too much imbalances and bugs right now for it to be considered competitive. It is really fun in Battlefront 2 and it is also very popular, but some of the core foundation, if they were to make a Heroes vs Villains game, would be a lot more polished, no bugs, better balancing, and also maps that are catered more towards this game mode. There are some maps that are pretty well balanced, but there's also some that give one team a bigger advantage than the other simply because they're made for other game modes and they've just taken part of it and put it in Heroes vs Villains. And another thing that makes it really hard to balance is obviously lightsabers versus blaster wielders. In many other similar games, most characters usually have some type of long-range weapons, and they might have some melee attacks as well, but mostly it's not as black and white as in Battlefront 2, where you're either melee or you're long range, which makes balancing a lot harder. But I want to make something clear that a game similar to this would not really be like a Overwatch/Valorant competitor, which will be super competitive with esports and everything like that. I don't think it's ever gonna reach that point, but it could definitely go to the point where you can have ranked matches, where you can still have some type of, tournaments and things like that if a lot of effort were put into actually balancing it up. And having that blaster versus lightsaber combat can actually be made really unique, because if you start having more objectives in there might be some objectives where a lightsaber wielder has a huge advantage versus another objective where the blaster wielder has the advantage, and therefore there could be some really nice tactical plays playing out there. And obviously matchmaking is a big thing that would have to be polished for a game like this. As of right now, I don't really know if there is any skill-based matchmaking in Battlefront 2. I know that your hero level is not really representative of your skill, but it's often where you can see a level 1 Luke fighting off against level 140 Darth Vader, and 99% of the time the Vader is gonna win. So matchmaking is definitely something that would be important in a game like this, and I think ideally, like many other games, you would simply have a casual matchmaking where you would be put up against any enemies, and then you would have the ranked matchmaking where you would actually be put into brackets like in Counter-Strike, League of Legends, or any other matchmaking based games. But a big question then would be, what would this game cost? How would it be monetized? And what about everyone who's already bought Battlefront 2 and has skins and similar stuff from that game? Well, right now, for instance, Overwatch is about $15 and there you can buy skins. Valorant is completely free and you can buy Valorant points to use on skins, and then you can have Battle Pass to get skins and something called Radianite points where you can then upgrade the skins. So the downside to having a free game is obviously cheaters, but it also means you can get a lot of players in there and people will never have to feel like, oh, I have to pay for something that I've already paid for. Well, if the game is free, then that's not the case. I think a good solution would still to make it free, but that you have things that would counter cheaters, or at least put up cheaters against other cheaters by having, for instance, in Counter-Strike Go, you can have a Prime account, which means you only fight other people who are primed, and the primed account means you've either played for a very long time or you paid to get a Prime account. And you could have something similar here, where everyone who's purchased any skin or battle pass or anything like that would face off against other people like that. Or maybe you couldn't even play ranked matches if you haven't bought anything in the game, such as a battle pass. I think that's a fair deal. If you can still play for free and you can play casually with no matchmaking, why not? You just need to make sure you have a solution for cheaters if you make the game free. And I think making the game free is a very good selling point, because as if they start charging for the game, even if it's only $15 or $20, the problem is that people will say, I already paid for Battlefront 2 and I've got most of these heroes and skins in that game. Why do I need to pay again? Even if it's completely different gameplay, new abilities, way more polished, it's still the same characters. So that's why I do think that having it free would be the ideal situation, and then focus a lot on skins, emotes, voice lines, and everything like that, because there's so much of that which can be utilized from the Star Wars universe. And you can also have a bit more of a focus on showcasing those skins, voice lines, emotes, both in the intro of the matches and in the post-game screen, where people will go like, oh, that skin is awesome, I really want that, or that victory pose is really awesome, I want that, and things like that, which is featured to some degree in Battlefront 2, definitely, but I think it could be a better job done with that if you want people to actually, well, basically support the game only through that and not through buying the game. So how about canon and the problems that that brings with being in the Star Wars universe? I mean, a few years ago, I remember Anakin versus Vader used to be a no-no, and now it's no problem. And if you look at Galaxy of Heroes, you can play pretty much everywhere with anyone, no matter which era it's in. And I think it could be the same mindset here. This would be like arena-style battles, where you can have people and characters from all eras and factions battling it out. The question, though, is, would you keep it to two sides, or would you let any character face off against any character? I personally think it would be nice if you kept it dark side versus light side. I know it makes balancing a lot harder, and it will most of the time make one side more popular and stronger than the other, but I think it's worth having that problem with the balancing just to have it a bit more of a Star Wars feel. I don't think completely mixing it together would be a good idea, and I think it would make the game a little bit more tactical if you have to play differently depending on which side you're on, and you can't always just play the same character that you like. And if they do make the matches a little bit more objective based, there might be certain things that one side will be better at than the other, which will be fine as long as the other side has another thing that they're better on, if you know what I mean. I know that balancing is definitely going to be a tricky thing here, but I think that's one of the main things they need to focus on. Because if we're talking about how much should they reuse from Battlefront 2, well, they can reuse a lot. Character models, voice lines, and all those kind of stuff that normally take a very long time to create, why not just reuse them from Battlefront 2 / polish them a little bit? Obviously, I'd like them to add at least 2 to 4 more characters to the Battlefront 2 roster before they release a game like that, as well as completely reworking most of the abilities that are maybe not balanced for a competitive style game, but overall, reuse quite a lot from Battlefront 2 and focus that development time that you save towards making the abilities balanced, the characters balanced, and everything like that. There's still hundreds of skins that were never added to Battlefront 2 for the heroes that could be added to a game like this, and people would pay $10 for it, no problem, especially if it's a free game. And all the skins that are already in Battlefront 2, I'm not sure exactly how they should handle them. They should definitely have them in a Heroes vs Villains game. But the question is, if someone has already bought Battlefront 2, the Celebration Edition, and although this game is free, should they get those skins for free in this game as well? I'm not sure how that link would be possible to do, if they could somehow program so that if you have the skin in Battlefront 2, you get it in this game. I'm not entirely sure right there, as I do know if they added a skin you already have in that game and you have to purchase it for real world money here, people would complain. I personally would be fine with that if this game feels like it has enough depth and the game is free. I'm fine grinding towards getting it again or actually paying for it, as I definitely think I got my money's worth out of Battlefront 2. But that's a discussion that if this game is ever made, the developers would have to take, and I'm not sure what you guys think of that particular issue and how it could most ideally be solved. Overall, I think a game like this could be really popular, because if it caters enough to the tactical and competitive side, you could get people over from Valorant, Overwatch and other shooters and tactical arena battle games that might not have the biggest interest in Star Wars, but that might be interested in the gameplay. And then you of course have all the Star Wars fans who, if this game was free, everyone would pretty much download it and play it. Obviously the hard part is striking that balance of making it feel like a Star Wars game, but still a little bit competitive and cater to both those sides, which is also why I think having 2 matchmaking versions would be a good idea. One for competitive with the ranked and one that's just casual, basically like Heroes vs Villains is in Battlefront 2 right now, because there's definitely going to be a lot of Star Wars fans who do not want the competitive experience. They just want basically Heroes vs Villains from Battlefront 2, more polished, more skins, new maps and everything like that. One last thing I also thought about was the star cards. I don't know if I think each character even needs to have some type of customization to their abilities at all, with basically the amount of characters we have right now in Battlefront 2 plus maybe 2 or 4 more. Maybe you could have a little bit of a specialization where basically you might have 3 choices of each hero. So like a lightsaber wielder might be able to focus on force abilities, lightsaber attacks or defense or something like that. Not star cards, that's definitely never gonna happen. Something where basically the more you play, the stronger you are, and there's always gonna be usually 3 star cards that are the best. So star cards, they will definitely not be carried over to a game like this. But if there's gonna be some type of gameplay customization, it should be something that's available for everyone at the start. And if there's gonna be some type of progression in the game, I think it should be for skins, cosmetics, unlocks, nothing that affects the gameplay. That just wouldn't work if this game is gonna have any type of ranked matches at all. But that's basically how I feel about a potential Heroes versus Villains the game. I think we're in a state right now where it seems like the best idea is to make these focused games, like, well, a Heroes versus Villains game, Star Wars Squadrons, Fallen Order, and maybe not a Battlefront 3 that would encompass everything. It might happen someday and I might be wrong. Battlefront 3 might still be in the pipeline, who knows, but the scope of those games is so huge and there's so many things that could go wrong with everything from development to just having too much in the game or expectations being off the chart, that I think that focusing on smaller games like this and really polishing everything down to every little detail is probably a better idea. We'll see what people think about Squadrons when it's released. If that's a huge success, I think we might be seeing more of these kind of focused games, and the Heroes vs Villains game might be a good step for that. But yeah, I'd love to hear what you guys think in the comments below about a game like this. Thank you very much for watching, and as always, may the Force be with you.